John. Got some people leaving the room.
This is the tea party. Don't put it on. We got some tea.
I'm glad you're. I was really worried. I was about to have to buy some flowers for Ken because I thought he was dying. So he just saved me about $50 by living. So thank you, Ken, for getting help. He was so sick. I don't know if y'all knew that. Yeah, this is part of my daily calls with Ken. He comes in. So we're recording everything too. That's good. Yes, John? We are waiting on you.
Is there a reason why?
Still stuff in your mouth.
You tell me when. All right, good.
You can start right now.
Well, good evening. I know you guys have been here a long time, and some of us have gone along with the course, and we'll be as brief as we can and as thorough as we can. So I thank you for being here. This is an opportunity for me just to introduce myself. I know so many of you in the room. It's been a long campaign. It started last August. Really started for me on that fateful night when we were defeating Wendy Davis on the floor. I was in Governor Perry's media room with a lot of other conservative representatives, and with the Grahams, with Texas Right to Life, and we were kind of holed out there, but the crowd outside was so ruly. We had policemen that were with us to make sure that everywhere we went we'd be safe. And so, you know, John Devine, he's a good friend of mine, and he was with us there, and so he kept flashing his badge so we could get around the Capitol pretty well. But during the day, as we was waiting for that vote to happen, I had 4 different people that came to that point and said, Ted, you've been in Austin so much. For the last 3 sessions, you've been here helping us pass all these pro-life bills. You know probably 20 to 30 of these representatives. You pray with the senators. You pray with the lieutenant governor. You go to Perry's office and you can spend some time praying with him. You're very comfortable with the legislative scene here. And I'm comfortable because I'm a patriot. And a patriot goes to Austin and begins to find ways to represent the values and the principles that we hold as conservatives. Now, I tell everybody I'm not a conservative Republican. That's too squishy for me, right? I'm an ultra-conservative, constitutionalist, Christian patriot. And that's what everybody in this room is, really. When it comes down to it, we have to find an area where we can help our state and where we can help our county. And so at that time, they began coming to me one by one and said, Ted, we hear that Brandon's going to move to the agricultural position. We want you to consider running. So Johnny and I are there. We're waiting for the great vote, and it did happen. We were so excited. My son John is legislative director for Texas Right to Life. And he wrote the omnibus bills. And he wrote the preborn pain bill. And he wrote the sonogram bill. And all those bills, Johnny and I, my wife and I, we were there helping get those bills passed. If you're there 3 sessions, and we're trying to get the license plate bill passed with a friendly alliance in the pro-life work, you begin to get a heart for the state of Texas. I'm a patriot, I'm a citizen, I'm a pastor. My church votes 100%. And we had one session where they only voted 95%, but that person's no longer with us. Because we love to vote 100%. When you start a church, you can do that. If you start your own church, you can say, look, citizenship, discipleship, they go hand in hand. If you're become a responsible follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, then we should be able to take care of the kingdom that He's given us. So with that, we were in Austin helping get these things passed. We came back from that event so excited that we finally got our omnibus bill passed. We began to see that Texas is returning to the values. Unfortunately, we launched a superstar in this Wendy Davis, and meeting with all those Democrats day after day, wearing their orange shirts. Johnny and I, it came to us that with my 8 children, of which, there's John living in Austin now as legislative director. I have a lobbyist in D.C. for a daughter, and I have all my kids are involved in pro-life work. My last 2 are in college. We were ready to get our boat and go out on Lake Conroe where we live because we've raised 8 kids, and we raised 3 teenage girls. So really, we've raised 11 kids on Lake Conroe. But God had a different plan for us, and He began to use all the experience that we've had at the Capitol to birth a new desire and at least an opportunity for us to seek the nomination for the Republican Party for State House District 16. We've grown a lot. We've learned a lot. We've developed, I believe, as a candidate. But as you look back at my life, I begin to say that we know that God has had his hand in my life. If you have a PhD in education, you raise 8 kids, you've been married for 35 years, you've been a pastor for 39, you've been in business for 23, then that's a good preparation for going to Austin to represent the people of District 16. Let's go.
Three types of education would be public, private, and homeschool. What is your preference, and what will you do in the legislature to support that 100%?
5.1 million children in Texas are in our public school system. 330,000 students are in private schools. 300,000 students are homeschooled. The homeschool and the private school, they have their own thing going because they're really independent entities. They have their own education, and we made that choice. Now, I personally homeschooled all my children, the older kids. I had 2 that graduated from public school when they were younger, before we started homeschooling. Well, let me say, I adopted 2 kiddos when they were 16. So we let them finish their high school, and that's how they finished public school. The other kids, with me having 3 degrees in education and Johnny having her degrees, and she'll be Dr. Johnny here next month, we had a really strong desire that we wanted to control, to customize education for our children. So to answer your question, a lot of families have the opportunity to use private school or public school for their main system of education, their main delivery system. We chose homeschool, but we also know that in the state of Texas, we have a lot of issues, and we're just going to do this for 2 minutes, right? Yes. And I'd love to spend more time on this, but we have a lot of issues in education, and I've got incredible ideas and new paradigms on how we can not reform education, but we can rebuild it. And it's going to take all of us having a new way of thinking. And Greg Abbott has some great ideas, and I've spoken with him about this, where we have some ideas on the table. I think that we can, over the next 2, 4, 6 sessions, we can tremendously move the direction of education so that parent choice is going to be a key issue, so that you know, as a parent, when you're coming to Texas, that you're going to have some opportunities to choose the direction you want to go. And it's part of our basic understanding as a Republican platform that we believe in parent choice. We believe that charter schools should be a part of our system. It is an option, but we also have to take care of all the other schools as well. There's a way to do it. I've met with all the superintendents already around the lake, and we all have a plan for how we'd like to move forward. And I'd love to talk about that more in depth, but for 2 minutes, that's kind of where we are. Somebody asked me that question again. Can we do that? Can you punt?
Follow along.
Yeah, there you go.
What's your view on the national level with Common Core? I know it's not in the state of Texas, but also in the Department of Education is.
Common Core is such a low standard for the state of Texas, folks. It is way too low. I said that last night. Was anybody at the forum last night? I know maybe one of you. Good. Then I can repeat everything. That's good. Common Core is way too low. It's just, it's like Cisco. And I have my doctorate is in curriculum instructional design. I was trained to be a superintendent. I was trained to write curriculum. My wife writes curriculum. We've been writing curriculum for 23 years. We've been running our own education program for 23 years. I'm an educational consultant. I know this stuff fairly well, right? But I also know that the standards for this country are way too low for the standards that we need for Texans. And I plan to really implement a whole different paradigm on how we're going to do education. It's going to have a classical bent to it, if that means anything to you. Classical means that we're developing the mind, we're developing the whole child, not just teaching Common Core. Common Core works for people that just want to get by in life. We don't want that for Texas. We want to excel, and with Greg Abbott, as he says everywhere he goes, we want to be the #1 state in education, not #2. And he has ideas, we all have great ideas, and I can't wait to get involved and start transforming the education system in Texas.
Kind of along to that, you mentioned earlier, why the superintendents and why not the principals who are on the ground, the sergeants instead of the lieutenants?
In any program that you're evaluating, and part of my doctoral training was program analysis. If you're giving an analysis of this business here, what you have to do, you have to start studying from the top down and then from the bottom up. And they meet in the middle. So what you start to do as an instructor, and when I go into a school as an evaluator, which Johnny and I do fairly often, we go in, we talk to the principals first. I mean, we talk to the superintendents, the chief that's running the program, right? Because you want to get to know their aspect of what they see. What are their dreams? What are their aspirations? Where do they want to take their company? Where do they want to take their school? Whether it be a private school, public school, even in homeschool settings, we work with these couples. Then you begin to work down to, okay, what are the instructors feeling? And then you begin to talk to the principals. I did talk to Dr. Curtis at Conroe High School. Great guy, loves the Lord, nice, great, strong instructor. He has a perspective on the day-to-day of what the campus is doing every minute of the day. The classroom teachers, and I'm still a classroom teacher, as y'all know, I teach history one time a week. I'm a headmaster and I'm a college professor, so I'm involved, not just talking about it, but actually do it. So you get the instructor's input, you get the principal's input, you get the leadership input, and you begin to put together on paper what's going on in this education system. That's why you have to get everybody involved. Now, am I valuing one more than another? No, not as an evaluator. As a consultant, I'm just gathering information, and we're trying to do that now here in Texas.
Michelle?
I just had a question
Yeah.
about, you mentioned revamping the educational
Yeah.
system, and from what it sounded like, you're talking about something similar to vouchers or something like that. But how would you handle the people who do not have a child in that system, don't need the vouchers? Would we just lose our money?
Well, no, the plan that's in place in Louisiana and Virginia is the plan that Texas will begin to model theirs after. And it's an educational kind of credit card where those states allow the parents to take back a percentage of their income, their property tax, their school tax, and to put that in form of an educational credit card. And they're able to use that money, whether they want to use it for a private school, and if they use it for the public school, that's just, they're going to get the whole enchilada there. If you're going to use it for a private setting, you could do that as well. It puts the money that you're paying into the system, which is your money. You know, that's the thing that drives you nuts about the school districts, is that, hey, you can't take away our money. It's not your money. You know, and every educator, they're getting smart about that. Don Stockton is a very good friend of mine. He's the superintendent of schools at Conroe. He was in my Sunday school class through the years and years, and then he actually moved up to superintendent. So he and I had a really strong talk about that. And he said, absolutely, Ted. We as administrators, we have entitlement issues where we think that money's ours. We have to get back to thinking. It's a paradigm shift. We have to paradigm shift, say education belongs to the people. It belongs to the parents. We are providers. We are a delivery system in the terms of researchers. Delivery systems have to change with times, and we have to find new ways to deliver the information. It might be through technology. It might be through homeschooling. I see a hybrid. I see an idea where you can take classes at home. Why do you have to stay in the class 15 weeks? Why do you have to stay in the class 15 weeks when you could have finished it in 7 if you were doing it at home online? Technology is part of our future. We know that. So your sophomore could take a class at home, could take a class on Saturday. And when I was doing my doctoral work, I did a lot of Saturday classes. And I knocked out hours after hours. I have over 300 hours credit, and it didn't happen by me sitting in a classroom all the time. Things are changing. And I love the idea of having a hybrid system where you could take some classes here, you can go on some camp. There are some classes you need to be face-to-face with people. You need that instructional input. But others, you're just base knowledge you're trying to learn, and that can be done in an online setting.
John?
To continue with the educational theme here, our current educational system is designed the square peg kind of situation where we're putting every kid into the same square peg, which is to get them to college. But yet not every student is designed to be a college student.
Right.
You say you're looking at breaking the paradigm. Any thought to perhaps having 2 tracks of high school education, one a college-bound curriculum, another let's go have a welder? Or
Who have you been talking to? You're giving it away. Because
every
obviously-
teacher,
Yeah, you're talking to
conservative
somebody.
teacher in America.
That's the buzz. That's the educational buzz. Every journal that I get, did you start? Every journal that we get, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, you're
Okay,
good.
I know
You
where
got
you're
it.
at, I think I know where
You
you're
got
at.
it.
Every journal that I'm getting, that I'm reading, that Johnny and I are reading, and this is the type of stuff we talk about all the time, the information is saying that now we're beginning to have what we call parent-directed education. It's customized parenting plans, learning plans, where every student at some point begins to decide where they want their education to go. In the program that we run, where our kids graduate at 15 or 16, they've been doing that for about 20 years. Why? Because we move them up, guys. When you're a sophomore in our program, you don't have to stay a sophomore the whole year. Why do you have to wait till May to move to your junior year? That's ridiculous. In our system, you can move up in the middle of the year. You can move up in 3/4 of the year. If you want to start the next track, move up when you're ready. That way, if you want to go to college, you want to go to A&M when you're 17, graduate when you're 16, because we can put together a learning plan that will help you get there. It's Representative Cecil Bell's idea. The technology side, and he and I have talked about this, I talked about it last session when we were there. I'm talking pro-life stuff, and I'm always talking education here on the side in the 83rd session. Because Cecil's got the idea. He knows, since he didn't graduate from college, so he has a heart for those kids that want to get in the technical arts program. And I agree. If you can graduate with a technical arts program and you get paid $30 to work at Buckaloo, as a mechanic, why not? And then when you mature, because we know the 18-year-old today is really 15, right? The 24-year-old is really 19 maybe. That's where we are, and it's parenting. Okay, there's a whole different issue there. But if we can find out where these kids want to go, put them on that track, then here's what happens as an instructor. Now I put on my instructor hat. I've got kids that are motivated over here. I've got middle-of-the-road kids, and I've got kids over here that don't want to be in my class. Well, if we can begin to do that, and Mike Harkrider at Willis High School is developing this, and Bo Reese over in Montgomery is developing this idea, where they can begin their sophomore year to say, look, I don't want to take physics. I just want to finish with this degree and go to work in a carpentry situation. It gives the kids much more opportunity, and it makes the parents get involved. The parents have to start talking to their kids about what do you want to do with your life. And of course, we all know, as a pastor and as a parent, parenting is a major issue. Johnny and I have actually offered all 3 sessions, all 3 superintendents allowed us to come teach parenting classes. And all 3 school districts said, we would love for you to come teach parenting classes, because there's desperate need for parents to get involved. Give them a reason to get involved. I'm a little passionate about that, I'm sorry.
I am too, and I would like to speak to you more about it
Yes, sir.
from different standpoints.
So I'm gonna derail your education train, just,
Well, I think
just for a minute.
you've got
No,
those.
The moderator's over there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't call this. Thank you, John. I defer to the moderator.
I'll let Ben get his and he can follow up.
So would you support a repeal of the 17th Amendment?
Where is that going?
Well, let's just take it at face value.
Huh?
Let's just take it at face value. Would you, as a state legislature, would you support a repeal of the 17th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution?
Okay, what does the amendment say?
It is what gave us the popular election of U.S. senators.
Right, so popular election, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. And there's a lot of question about that. That when you start just throwing that out, and I'm sure you're reading all the blogs as well. When you begin a true democracy and a true republic is based upon everybody having an equal say, right? The electoral system is certainly under major challenge right now. Because as our country becomes more diverse, smaller groups of people are making decisions that affect you. And it's not necessarily reflective of what the people of the United States believe and understand and want our country to be about. It's something strong that we're going to have to look at. I see it coming. I mean, I'll put my patriot constitutionalist hat on. Because as a constitutionalist, we have to look at and see what's working in this Constitution. It's like constitutional amendments. They scare you to death, but they make you really excited too. It's a kind of a double-edged sword there. But with this issue, we've got to make sure that we are looking at what is happening in our country. If a voting bloc is taking over our country, and that's not the purpose of the Constitution, then that's something we got to look at. So absolutely, I'd have to do that.
Are you leaning one way or the other?
Oh, absolutely. I'm leaning toward repealing it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'd have to. You'd have to. I think most of us as patriots would go that way. I'd love to hear off time why we wouldn't go that way. In every election it comes up. Y'all hearing it too, like I am.
I asked a question to young college students
Yeah.
as a group, and I always get the same answer, and I want to know, would your answer be the same? And here is the question. My grandfather, I don't know that he had much schooling. He spoke and wrote 6 languages.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a high school dropout, and he spoke, I don't know how well he wrote, but he spoke 3 languages and somewhat of Indian Sign Language. I went through high school and graduated. I only know 1 language. Now, you tell me what they're learning down there, and I'm just saying that if I had a son and he went to college, I would think he would have a speech impediment. And I'm just saying, for anyone that would spend in an institution for 12 years
Right.
and not know how to read and write. And by the way, my profession in the past has been a machinist, and I've had to correct the trigonometry of college graduates, including engineers. And it's very embarrassing. So I'm just saying that there is,
So what's the
there's just
question?
there's so much way to go up. Y'all are at the, at the lowest part. You know,
Right.
there's no further down that it can go,
Right.
especially
So what's the-
morally.
Ellis, what's the question?
The question is, here's the question. Would you rather be fluent and not an academic embarrassment,
Right.
knowing 1 or 2 languages,
Right.
or would you rather have what my grandfather had, and I know he did not spell his English exactly
Right.
correct,
Right.
and the answer, what do you think the answer was?
Right. What we need in Texas, what you need in this room, is comprehensive education. Comprehensive education has a core value to it, and that's a good word, and it's been trashed, like so many other words in our language. But there is, as an educator and as a curriculum writer, we're looking at what are those elements. You've heard the word essential elements. What are the elements that we want our students to know? What are the core elements, the basic functionary elements that we want our students to be able to have to participate and contribute to society? Well, in writing and speaking. Now, I started a college 5 years ago called John Witherspoon College and Seminary, right? And it went back, John Witherspoon, you know a little bit about him, right? When Mark Cole and Dave Welch and Dan Woody and Mark Brennan and I got together to form our college, we looked at what are the core values that were a part of our country in our colonial days. What were our founding fathers about? They were thinkers. They were educated men. They knew how to write. They knew how to speak. The program, our Paideia program that I run, the 2 main issues or the main elements that we teach are writing skills and speaking skills. Communication skills win the day at the end of the day. I can stand up here and stutter and fall all over myself, and you guys would say, that is not one guy that we want to send to speak in the front mic, not the back mic of the house floor, right? You want to be articulate, you want to have the ability to do that. That's one aspect of that. But to be comprehensively educated, we have to look at the math side. And that's a whole other discussion we could have. We have to look at the language side. We teach Latin to all our students. Everybody in this room should have an understanding of Latin. Why? Because in a classical education, it is the core language. It is the core of of how we learn other languages. Once you move from Latin to English to French to Italian to German, and I've sung in all those languages. I have a master's also in conducting, music conducting. I'm a voice major. So I had to sing in all those languages. I'm not proficient in speaking them, right? But we also know that is key to an educated child is learning a language. It's key to have a math background. But it's also key to have written skills and communication skills with verbal communication skills. So I'm looking at, we took a survey in this room, you could all tell us what you want your student to have. And that should be what we as Texans would be expecting from our education system. Let's bring it up to that level.
We got time for 2 more, Sam and then Sarah.
Okay.
Another non-educational question.
Okay.
I assume you probably support the, the Second Amendment and open carry, constitutional carry, but just more like how important of an issue is that to you? And I know there's other people in Austin that's really important to them, you know, you can maybe support them or whatever, as opposed to riding on that.
Yeah, to make that a funny point, I was in Austin 3 weeks ago, and I'm in a private meeting with 25 representatives that had asked me to meet with them. And it was kind of this private meeting where they wanted to get to know me, because they're all figuring out who they're trying to see who's going to win possibly and who they're going to have to work with. So we got to this meeting, and they all started pulling out their guns and putting them on the table. And I said, I'm in heaven. This is right where I want to be. Even the women legislators were pulling their guns out of their purses, and she had one in her sock, and I won't give you any names. But anyway, and they tell me, Ted, you got to start carrying. And I don't carry right now, right? I'm not. I'm not to that point. They all tell me if I'm elected, I'm going to have to do that. And that's fine, okay? But the core issue is not about guns. It's personal liberty. It's personal freedom. That is the core issue. I have friends all over the country, and they always make fun about Texas, and they talk about our guns. I said, it's not about guns. It is about freedom that is guaranteed in the Constitution of the United States that you guys in other states are trashing or throwing out. We in Texas are not going to do it. That's why I call myself a constitutionalist. You know, I want to get back to the freedoms that were guaranteed in the Constitution. One is the right to carry. And I'm crazy enough to say I'm not stopping at just concealed handguns. If you want this college thing, I will vote for that. Because if you can show us that you're a responsible, you know, man and woman carrying a gun, then you should be able to have the freedom in America, especially in Texas, where we write our laws, to have an open carry. Now, it'd be silly to carry sometimes and let everybody see your gun, because they're going to take you out first, right? But in our education system, we need protection. You know, it's all these states that repealed their gun laws are the ones that are having all the killings or the murders happening, you know? Duh! You know, not in Texas. Very passionate about that one, too.
Do you believe that property tax is a morally justifiable form of taxation?
No, I really don't. I'm sorry. If you're feeling that way, we got to be able to own property in Texas. You know, and we maybe in other states, maybe not. They got their own thing going. But in Texas, we need to be able to own our property. And as long as there's a property tax, and it might be here long after I'm gone, we're all gone. I don't know how this thing's going, but I'd love to have that conversation, and I would help to lead that cause on what can we do to provide true land ownership in the state of Texas. You know, and it's going to have to deal with property tax. That's the only thing that we can hold over your head is this tax bill. And I went and paid. Did you pay your tax bill today? I wait till the last minute, you know. I actually got there before lunch today, so I was pretty proud. Usually I'm the last guy in line, you know. But that's part of it. I don't mind, I'm all for taxation, you know. And there's got to be a better way for us to do this. And there's lots of good conversations happening, and you know, right now it's not the time to have it. But I don't like that property tax, and we've got to look at that. And we've got to take that back over.
Oh, there was one last question.
No, I want more questions. Sir. Who?
What do you think about the teachers in the school system, the high schools and junior high schools?
Right. I love the word golden handcuffs for my educators, for my instructors. We need to put golden handcuffs on those employees, those instructors that are so valuable to our schools. And I can pretty well go into schools and tell you who they are. You know, I've evaluated enough teachers in my time. I do it every year for a lot of years now. I can tell you the ones that have a passion. But folks, I want you to know, so many of our instructors are beat down, just like you would be beat down in your business. If you were having to teach under the oppression that instructors have to teach under today, they start out passionate. I was just in a home knocking on the door last Saturday night, ran into a little girl just graduated from A&M with her education degree, and she was starting teaching, and she was already discouraged because she was having to fill out so much paperwork for everything that's done, and she had to teach it this way, and all of her joy of teaching, which we all have, and that's why I love being a college professor, I can teach the way I want to teach. We've got to put the passion back into teaching, and to get some teachers on the bus and some teachers off the bus. See what I'm saying? We have to decide which of the teachers do we want in our school district leading our kids, and which are the ones that we need to usher them into other professions. And it is a way to do it. It's not hard to figure it out. If you start going classroom to classroom, you can figure that out really well. It's not hard to do. I love our instructors, and we've got to always say that we need to lead with, as a Christian, I lead with people need Jesus. You know, the core value in this world is they need a heart change. Meanwhile, when that heart's not changed, we have to begin to work with that and stand up against unrighteousness. I want all our teachers to have a passion for teaching, but I also know that maybe once they get there, they may need to change their mind.
The question was, do you think teachers should carry guns?
Oh, I didn't do the gun part.
You didn't?
Gun part, yes, I think you should. See, you mean I got to do it, but that was a freebie. I was a freebie,
I
okay.
was enjoying it, I thought, get it on, baby.
I know, when I said golden handcuffs, you're going handcuffs, guns, okay, I get it. I'm pulling it together.
I was wondering where you're going.
No, yeah, I'm so sorry. It's been a long day for all of us, haven't it, right?
Right.
I've done a few of these
Right
forums.
into it.
No, absolutely, the teachers should have the freedom to do that. We need to secure our campuses, and not every instructor is gonna feel comfortable doing that. And there's a lot of plans in the legislature that's been talked about how many, designating people in the school, not knowing who they are. Okay, I'm open to talk about that. I just want our students to be protected. And if you have a gun, you have a good opportunity to protect those kids in that classroom. And let's talk about that.
No?
Well, golden handcuffs are incentives. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, yes.
Providing incentives to teachers?
Oh, yeah.
Where does that come from, and how do you plan to put that in place?
Okay, golden handcuffs are incentive, but it's not necessarily financial. It's not always financial. Teachers, if you talk to, do we have any educators in this room? Okay, there you go, excellent, excellent. Educators want more than just a raise in their salary, okay? And that's good. We want to be commiserate with education, and I get it. Not everybody that has a doctorate education is going to be an ideal classroom teacher. But teachers want to have some freedom to teach. When you get to be a full professor, if you're an associate professor or full professor on a college campus, you have certain freedoms that come with that. And once you get to that level, it's a nice way to live. It's a nice way to teach. Teachers we need to find a way that we allow teachers the joy, to restore the joy of their teaching profession, their calling, okay? And it is going to be a salary it's a nice salary. There is going to be an opportunity to not have classrooms that are overburdensome. That we don't put a mixture of kids that are from A to Z that don't want to be there, and I'm highly motivated to be there. All right, that's another way, is to allow our teachers to have an environment, a teaching environment that they enjoy going to. The classroom teaching load is another thing with golden handcuffs. As teachers have been in a district for a while, they begin to allow them to supervise and to train other teachers. Mike, again, I mentioned Mike Willis. He's doing a little bit of that. He's letting some of his more experienced teachers take on some of his younger teachers to retain them as well. So there's other ways to do that. It starts with salary, but there's so many things when you start looking at the school budget. And Don is so good, Dr. Stockton and I, we love to talk budgets, and Dr. Reese over in Montgomery, he has a degree in finance, so he really talks budgets. But the school system, there's so many ways to save funding in school districts, and they know it. They know that. But the system is built so that we're over-regulating our schools, that they can't give up the funds because they have to spend those funds to carry out the regulations that we put on them as legislators. So that's why I'm talking about a new paradigm. We got to rebuild, guys, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about education in Texas. We can take this thing. We can take education to the level we want it to go.
I got a quick follow-on to that.
Let's make this a lot, wait. Mr. Stein, let's not do the follow-on. Let's, one last question, whoever the moderator says, and let's go.
More questions? One last one?
Could I do it? Yes.
I've got a question for you.
She's got
Oh, good.
She's got one here.
I've been sitting here being so frustrated because every time the subject of education comes up, the one thing that everybody avoids is the sex education that's being pushed in our schools.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing, nobody wants to talk about it, but the Marxists are using it to divide the children from their parents and their faith.
Right.
And we need protectors, we need gatekeepers to keep those out of our school. It's a threat to parental rights as well. And their main goal is to make these children foot soldiers for the revolution. It was first tried in Belarus, Hungary, in 1918 by Georg Lucas when he became Commissar of Culture. And the first thing he did was to introduce radical sex education.
So what's the question for today?
what can you do to keep it from coming into our school?
Well, that goes back to the comprehensive education. The school, and again, they all say the same thing, the school has had to take on so many of the roles of parents and the church and the community. And they've decided just to be the community state. I mean, they're just like, we are the state, we take your children, and really, we've advocated,
That's
guys,
what
seriously now. I can't, y'all gotta be honest here, not your generation, and some of my generation, but the current generation, we have double income folks, and the houses are bigger and better, they've all gotta raise their money. So the state has said, look, we'll parent your kids, and we've given them up. We just gotta get them back. Now, the thing about Ted Sego, if you want a representative that's gonna look at things differently, then let me tell you. I love to point out the problems and all the things that are wrong, but I am so much about stop the griping and complaining, let's take it back, let's fix it, okay? And it takes courage, it takes Ted Cruz kind of guys that have that passion and understanding, say it's wrong. What we're doing in schools with our morality is wrong. You know, not teaching Bible, not having times for prayer, not being the foundation of our country. We've just taken that out of our schools. That's wrong. Well, let's put it back in. We can do it. This is our state. We vote. We can take this thing back over. It's going to take all us patriots getting up off our chairs to stop complaining and start moving forward and saying, let's do this, and electing men and women that have passion about their service. $600 a month. Seriously, to be a state representative, I could be on the lake. But it means enough to me, to go out there and fight for the values that we've lost. And I have some training, I have some ability, I'm putting it on the table if you want it. Now, if you don't want me to be your representative, that's fine. I'm still going to fight for these values as a patriot. And I'm going to be in Austin for the next session. You can see me there, whoever is elected, right? I may have an office, I may not. But I'm going to be there because it means that much to me that we take back the moral understanding of who we are as a country. And it's going to take somebody with some passion and some fire in their belly to make it happen.
You got 3 minutes to close, sir?
Oh, that was my closing. No, let me just give you a word of encouragement. And y'all don't need to know any more about Ted Sego. You know, the thing that really, I'm 58 years old, right? I didn't ask for this job or this consideration. I'm honored. I'm honored by all the endorsements that I'm getting. I'm honored by all the people that are putting yard signs, and I'm honored by all the representatives that are calling me and blessing me and encouraging me, because I represent an ideal. I represent a messenger from District 16 that we're willing to fight for what we hold dear. And I'm not trying to be a politician. I'm not trying to move up the ladder to ag or to Senate. I just want to represent a group of people and carry our values, our conservative, ultra-conservative, social and physical values to Austin. And I only have one office, and I'll only be one out of 150, but I think there's some more coming. And I think there's some guys already there. The thing that's exciting for me, the top 10 most conservative representatives have endorsed my campaign. Why? Because they see me in them. And I love that. And that's who we need. Not just and commissioners. We need commissioners, like we need Novaks. We need guys that are going to stand up for what's right. We need lieutenant governors. And all these leaders, it's a time, this is a great time that we changed out governor. As much as I love Governor Perry, I'm kind of happy that that's moving on, because there's some things there that I wasn't happy with in his life. You know, there's Greg Abbott, he's the next guy, but it's fresh. Let's go. Let's get it done. And this is an exciting time. The gloom and doom needs to end. You know, the Tea Party, all the conservatives, we've got to get excited about our country again and say, let's go do it. Let's get people out to vote. And instead of just saying, I'm so sorry, people don't vote, so I don't know why people don't vote. Okay, go get them, talk to them, make them vote, go do something. My church votes 100%, I'll talk to you how to get it done, right? But that's what we stand for. It's worth fighting for, and I would love to be able to represent you. But either way, as your elected representative or as your patriot in Austin, I'm going to be there, and I hope you join me.